From the developer's perspective, the core issue revolves around pricing strategies in the indie game market. Team Cherry, the small Australian studio behind Hollow Knight's Silksong, consists of just 3 people: Ari Gibson, William Pellin, and a composer. They have a history of delivering high-quality games without relying on massive budgets or aggressive monetization. When Silksong launched recently, it was priced at $20, which many see as a bargain given the game's reported scope, including over 150 unique enemies, a vast new world to explore, intricate boss fights, and hours upon hours of content that rivals or exceeds many AAA titles. This pricing decision stems from Team Cherry's philosophy of making their games accessible and rewarding for fans, especially since the original Hollow Knight was also affordably priced at $15 and has sold millions of copies over the years, providing the team with financial stability without needing to chase profits aggressively. However, this approach has sparked backlash from some other indie developers. In online discussions, particularly on platforms like Reddit and X, devs have voiced worries that Silksong's low price devalues the work of other independent creators. For instance, they argue that when a highly anticipated, polished game like Silksong comes out at such a low cost, it raises consumer expectations unrealistically high, making it harder for smaller teams to justify charging $30, $40, or even $50 for their own titles, even if those games require similar or greater effort to produce. One Reddit thread highlights devs feeling uncomfortable charging money at all in this climate, fearing backlash from players who now expect premium experiences for budget prices. This mirrors earlier controversies, like when Baldur's Gate 3 was criticized by some devs for its expansive content at a reasonable price, calling it BG3, like nonsense that disrupts the market. Videos and posts amplify this, with titles like Not Fair. Developers complain Silksong price way too low, suggesting that Team Cherry's success is seen as a threat because it highlights how larger studios or less efficient teams struggle to compete on value. Some devs have even implied that this could lead to a race to the bottom, where indie games are forced to undervalue themselves to attract buyers, potentially leading to burnout or financial instability for creators who do not have the same breakout hit history as Team Cherry. Importantly, these complaints are not from Team Cherry themselves, but from peers in the industry, and the demand not to buy angle is an exaggeration in the video title to stir up drama. In reality, no widespread boycott call exists. It is more about devs venting frustration over market pressures. On the consumer side, this controversy has elicited a mix of amusement, support for Team Cherry, and criticism of the complaining devs. Players and fans of Hollow Knight Silksong have largely celebrated the low price as a win for accessibility, allowing more people to experience what is being hailed as a masterpiece sequel. The game's launch caused such high demand that it reportedly crashed Steam and other digital storefronts, with thousands unable to purchase it immediately due to server overloads. Consumers appreciate that Team Cherry respects their audience by avoiding predatory practices like microtransactions, Day 1 DLC, or inflated prices, which are common in bigger games from publishers like EA or Ubisoft. This respect is repaid with loyalty. Fans have waited years through multiple delays without turning toxic, and now they are rewarding the game with massive sales and positive reviews. However, some consumers echo the devs' concerns indirectly by discussing how this sets a bar that might make them hesitant to pay more for lesser-known indies, potentially hurting smaller creators. Overall, the big deal for consumers is that it underscores a divide in gaming between player-friendly devs who prioritize quality and affordability and those who feel squeezed by economic realities. Videos like the one in question fuel debates on X and YouTube, with comment sections filled with players mocking the complaints as sour grapes, while others defend the indie ecosystem's need for sustainable pricing. Now, to understand why Hollow Knight and Silksong are such huge deals, we have to go back to the original game. Released in 2017, Hollow Knight was a surprise hit in the Metroidvania genre, which combines exploration, platforming, and combat in interconnected worlds inspired by classics like Metroid and Castlevania. Developed by Team Cherry on a shoestring budget, it features a hauntingly beautiful hand-drawn art style depicting the ruined kingdom of Hallownest, infested with bugs and ancient mysteries. Players control a silent knight exploring vast underground areas, battling challenging bosses, uncovering deep lore through environmental storytelling, and upgrading abilities to access new paths. What made it stand out was its incredible value. For $15, players got over 40 hours of core content, plus free expansions that added even more, like new areas, quests, and endings. Critics praised its precise controls, atmospheric music, and sense of discovery, often comparing it favorably to much larger games. It sold over 5 million copies, won numerous awards, and built a dedicated fanbase through its difficulty curve that rewards patience and skill without feeling unfair. The game's themes of decay, loss, and redemption told through subtle narratives rather than heavy exposition, resonated deeply, spawning fan art, theories, and speedrunning communities. It proved that indie games could compete with AAA titles in ambition and polish, inspiring a wave of similar games while standing out for its cohesion and lack of filler. Silksong builds on this legacy but elevates it to new heights, which is why its release is monumental. Announced in 2019 as a sequel, originally planned as DLC for the first game, it shifts the protagonist to Hornet, a fan-favorite character from Hollow Knight known for her agility and spear-based combat. Set in the new kingdom of Farloam, it promises even larger scale, more biomes, a crafting system for tools and weapons, over 150 bosses and enemies, and a soundtrack that expands on the original's melancholic beauty. The hype stems from years of anticipation fueled by sparse updates and delays, which turned it into a meme in gaming circles about eternal waiting. But unlike some delayed games that disappoint, early reviews suggest Silksong delivers, with Games Radar calling it worth the wait and then some for its refined mechanics, emotional depth, and seamless integration of exploration and combat. It is huge because it represents the pinnacle of indie achievement, a small team creating something that humiliates bigger studios by offering more innovation and heart at a fraction of cost. For fans, it continues the story and world-building, answering lingering questions from the first game, while introducing fresh elements like silk-based abilities for traversal and puzzles. In a broader sense, Silksong's success challenges the industry, showing that passion-driven development can outperform greed-focused models, which ties back to the pricing controversy. It has inspired discussions about what games should cost, how devs can sustain themselves, and why consumers flock to titles that feel genuine rather than corporate. If anything, this whole situation highlights the vibrancy of gaming culture, where a single release can spark debates about economics, creativity, and community.